Welcome to the Highland House Young Writers Club. We have chosen to spend some time with you in our library as it helps to develop the skills we need to become authors and thrive in the global information society. Follow me into the secret garden of books.
We have become confident readers and writers in our early years class by practicing our phonics and writing rhymes each day. The sounds learned are then blended to make words. We are outstanding when it comes to spelling our words. We then use them in our sentence writing. Our rules for writing a sentence are: start with a capital letter and end with a full stop. We also use objective words and joining words to make them fun to read.
After learning the writing rules and developing the writing skills in Key Stage 1, we are now ready to take a deep dive into writing. So if you dream of becoming an author, it will take lots of time and practice.
When writing children's books, you also need to think about using imagination and illustration in order to excite the readers. Just like my favourite author, Roald Dahl, when he wrote the amazing fiction book Matilda. Authors may write for different purposes, such as articles in a magazine or comic books.
Before we go, let me tell you my story. Highland House has enabled me to be independent and confident enough to become an author. At the beginning of the year, I started working on my dream. I hope that one day, very soon, you'll be able to read the very first book written by myself, Christian Phillip. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow for another exciting lesson with Highland House.
Are you struggling to cope with life? Conflict, bereavement, fear, relationship, anger, depression, negative thoughts, trauma, and uncertainty can all cause emotional imbalance. Don't struggle alone. CCS, your trusted confidential counselling service, is here for you. Call our listening line on 03301 332 945. Our office line for appointments on 020 7723 8050 or visit our website www.ccscounselling.org.uk. Our counsellors speak various languages. CCS, a shoulder to lean on. We are here to listen.
Everyone, we're excited that you're able to join us for this section of Camp Meeting 2021. This is the people's time, the youth, young adults' time, where we can discuss real issues, real challenges that are besetting our young people and the challenges they go through in real life. Today, we are discussing the challenges of fatherhood, what it means to be a dad, the lack of having a dad, the dad that you experience. We have 4 men who will be talking on a real level about fatherhood. So we're excited again to be collaborating with This Is Marriage UK. Curtis will be leading this discussion as we venture into this sensitive and real and honest discussion. Again, we will have our youth community choir singing for us. We will also have a power nugget from one of our ministers. But before we jump in, before we continue, let's start with a word of prayer. Father God, speak to us as to what it means to be a father. We have so many definitions of fatherhood, but I'm so glad that your word declares that you are our Father and you are available to us all. And so as we discuss the real challenges, the real realities of fatherhood, speak to us now. Minister to us now. Holy Ghost again, speak to us. Take away any distractions that's unlike you, so that your word can continue to go forward with power and authority. These things we ask in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Time has now come for us all to do more. From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
Now, a short time ago, the World Health Organization declared the outbreak an international public health emergency.
The difficulty is that if you do not try and suppress this virus, it can overwhelm your health system.
Me luck. Let's go. Raising money for the homeless.
We're just starting off on our walk. Please remember to sponsor us.
We are at 9 miles.
I need you to understand how painful it is to be reminded every day that your race means nothing.
There is a need, there is a cause, there's an outrage, there's an outcry that's happening in society, and it's important that we respond to that. We are living in, and I know you know this, crazy times, different times. But let me say this, let me remind you, be not afraid, because God is with you. Come on, be not dismayed, because He is your God. He will help you, yes. He will sustain you. He will keep you. He will deliver you. He will empower you. He will sustain you. He will upgrade you. He will do for you what you cannot do for yourself. He will lift you with His right hand of righteousness. Let Him do it for you. Come on. Let me remind you also that you are loved just as you are. And His grace is sufficient for you. Hallelujah. Let me challenge you to know Him for yourself. Let me challenge you to walk by faith and not by sight. Let me challenge you to flip the script. Let me challenge you to let your voice be heard, to get onto the battlefield, to get involved, to get out there, and to make your impact, to grow in your potential, to stop depending and waiting for others, and to allow the Spirit to lead you to greater heights. Use your influence, inspire people for change, to do God's will. Know that there are giants. Know that there are obstacles. Know that there will be challenges. Know it will be uncomfortable, but God is able. God is a deliverer, and there is nothing that can separate you from His love. And so lift up your head, walk by faith, walk with power, walk with authority, because you're a child of the King. Stay blessed, stay empowered, stay with God.
Well, we land.
We're rich. Yep. We're rich.
Now, we don't see this too often, and we're gonna hash this out. Today, guys, we're gonna be looking at the topic is father figure. What does that mean? We're going to look at that with my friends here. First of all, welcome to the show. How can I welcome the host? But I'm welcoming the host, Kojo. Little Black Book. You guys know what time it is for this, brother.
Love, man.
I can't sing like you, so I'm not even going to try to sing your theme song. You know what I mean?
Know what it is.
I'll hold a tenor. If Cameron does the alto, I'll do the tenor, but
it's about it. I do whatever, man. I do whatever.
Yeah. So Kojo, thanks for having us on, man. So today we're looking at men and fathering, and what it means, what it looks like. Cameron, Ambrose, my two good friends. And when we talk, we go there. Thank you.
It's love, man.
What I want to do, in fact, you know what? Actually, before I go into it, what I'm supposed to do is let you introduce yourself. Although we don't really like blowing trumpets here because we're just that humble way. But Cam, who are you? What you about? What are you saying?
I don't quite know how to answer that. I'm Cam. I'm trying to make it like everyone else. Got 3 children, ranging between the ages of 15, soon to be 16 at the end of this month, and 12. 2 boys, 1 girl, and yeah, I'm just trying to live the best I can. To be fair.
Ambrose, he's the king now.
Yeah, well, you know what? Likewise. I am literally here, man, just trying to do my best. Not from kind of what I personally experienced, but I'm trying to lay a foundation. As a father, not because of what I've experienced, what I've received myself, but yeah, I've got 4 kids as well, ranging from 10 to almost 16. So very similar to Cam. But yeah, no. So my eldest, I've got 2 boys, 2 girls. My youngest boy is 10. My eldest boy is about to turn 16. He thinks he's about to turn 30. And my girls are about to turn 14. So my house is interesting. Trust me. I've got 1 wife, but it feels like feels like I'm battling with the females for real. But no, life is just raw, man. And do you know what? As much as you know what I mean, it gets tough, and we're gonna get into that. It's a blessing, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But again, we are gonna go into that. That's my introduction.
Wicked, my guy.
This is it. So what I want to do, I want to put some of this in perspective. Then I'm going to ask you a direct question. I'm going to throw some stats at you. Absent fathers. We're not talking about single parent families now, all right? There's a difference. We're talking about absent fathers. Their children are 4 times a greater risk of going into poverty when they're adults. The girls are 7 times more likely to become pregnant. Children becoming adults are more likely to have behavioral and emotional problems. They're more likely to face abuse and neglect. It's deeper. Wow, it's deep. Twice as likely to have children that stillborn.
Really?
They're more likely to abuse drugs and alcohol. More likely to go to prison. They're more likely to suffer obesity. More likely to commit crime. And twice as likely to drop out of school. Guys, I want to ask you all this question. How many lone parent families are in the UK, do you reckon? There's 75 million people
in the UK.
In the UK, yeah, 75 million, yeah.
And how many? What's the percentage you reckon? Are you asking
if you want to go percentage, but go percentage. I'm saying, what's the figure of families?
Boy,
it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah,
I have no idea either. But out of 75 million, I'm going to say, well, no, 75 million. That's in total, right?
That's the
population. I'm going to go for a
yeah.
percentage. I'm going to say 40%.
40%.
Really?
Yeah.
You ain't got that high?
Nah. It's not that high. It's not that high. Kojo, what do you reckon?
Probably about 15%, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's not actually. It's only it's actually it's about 3 million. It's 3 million, so it's not that much. We don't have a massive problem, but in itself is a massive problem.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and with regards to crime, I mean, most of the kids that we work with in the youth justice, a lot of them are broken families. The vast majority are broken families. That's and that hasn't changed in 12 years. It's the same number. It's always really been that number, percentage-wise. What percentage of women compared to men are running the household as a single parent?
95%, man. Nah, I'm being facetious. I'm being facetious. Ignore me.
Hey.
He'll come back.
Is that me?
Yeah, you went off.
What's going on?
Cameron decided to do it dirty. I think it's one of probably.
What percentage of women are running a single, of all the single parents, of all the parents, what percentage are women?
Or the vast majority.
Yeah, I'm going to say 70%. Easy.
It's 90%.
Huh? So my 95 weren't too far up then?
Too far.
Wait, what? Madeline. Okay.
10% of them is men.
So 10% of men.
Yeah. But is that because generally the law tends to favour, or is it because men are genuinely
trash? You can say it. Because I can say it.
This guy.
A lot of guys.
But
you're right. The law does favour women. It does favour women.
Yeah. When it comes to kids and when it comes to having legal responsibility, yeah.
But like Kojo said, men tend to walk away, right? Or tend to leave that to the women.
I don't think. Do they walk away? Maybe. Yes. Okay. Let's say they do.
Leave the responsibility.
But even if a man doesn't, even if a relationship breaks down, no sensible man is going to fight or argue with his woman and say to her, you've got to leave the yard. What he's going to do is he's going to remove himself. So the relationship's broken down, but he's going to remove himself, leave her and the kids in a stable home or stable enough home, and fend for himself for the most part.
Right. Okay.
I mean, you're talking about some sensible guys, which they're not that many, bruv.
You know what? I don't know.
I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying there's a lot of trash guys out there. I'm sorry. There's a lot of trashness, bruv, out there. And we just got to be honest with ourselves. Some of our gender is absolutely horrific. No, and I say that with just absolutely, as a male, I understand there are a lot of things that we're facing. It's difficult out here. I love what you said about the fact that man will leave the home and want to make sure the woman is safe and in a nice environment. I love that. But the majority of those people that are doing, they're not even doing that. They're not even doing that. A lot of the men are not even doing that. This is why we have problems. Because they're not even doing that.
All right, let me move through this.
Ambrose is looking at me. Ambrose says, "Techie."
All right, so
talk to Ambrose. Talk.
I think there are major factors that are at play. And I think most the trash men that you're referring to. I think there is a very small percentage today that walk away. Like, please, just walk away.
I hear what you're saying.
However, I think there is a significant amount of men who genuinely want to be actively a part of their children's life, but it's so toxic, or the relationship's so strained that he finds it. They probably find it a struggle.
Okay.
And I think they by default sometimes may fall into that trash bracket, not because they haven't tried, but the odds are almost stacked against them.
Right.
I can rock with that.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
That's what I meant, bro.
Right, let me give you this. I mean, we're just warming up, right? We're just warming up. Let me give you this. Within each ethnic group monitored, this is UK stats, right? Within each ethnic group monitored, the percentage of family types which are single parents are as follows: Black, 24% of single parents are Black, right?
Is that UK?
Yeah.
Okay.
19% other and white, and 8% are Asian. So Asians tend to hold it together. Really.
Okay.
You ain't got a choice. Just saying. The culture will not allow some of the things that will happen.
This is just when you pick at these stats, you're going to see a lot of other problems. And just because you have two parents, don't mean that things are all right and safe. Yeah, so that's it's complicated. Let me give you a last one. Meanwhile, this is CDC America, yeah, Center of Disease Control.
Oh my gosh!
This is I'm sure this is 2018.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, among fathers who live with their children, Black dads are in many ways the most involved in their kids' lives. Black fathers are 70% were most likely to have, what do you think I'm going to say? Were most likely to have bathed, dressed, diapered, or helped their children use a toilet every day, compared to with white 60%, Hispanic 45%. And I read something like this years ago, and Black parents, when they're together, when Black parents are together, they are the most functional.
Wow.
Yeah. But when you look at when you look at and I can only speak from my experience, when you look at Caribbean households, men are incredibly domesticated. Incredibly domesticated.
From what I've seen.
Clean, ute them. I mean, they ute them, sometimes they rule with an iron fist. I can see Ambrose nodding just a little bit. You know how that one go. But in terms of domestic duties and catering to the needs of the kids, it's common. This is why sometimes I look at this whole idea of men are trash, and I'm like, yeah, there's trash ones, but I'm just like, maybe it's the people that I move with. I don't know no trash one, not anymore. Not anymore.
I can't say I know any myself.
I've definitely known some questionable guys.
I don't know any either, to be honest. Not now, anyway.
I've known questionable ones, and them man, they turned it around. they turned it around. So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, there are definitely trash ones, but sometimes I feel like the small fraction and percentage of those who are trash color the ones that aren't, and most of us are doing what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I agree. Right. So I'm in complete agreement. However, there is a but, and the but is this: there is a huge difference between what you know to be so culturally your point is bang on. But when you come to the Western world, it's almost as though when you come and you live in a Western land, you adopt these very reckless attributes, and you somewhat believe that is now the new norm.
You're talking sense.
So I think you're totally correct.
I think so.
Culturally, culturally, we know what's right, and we are very domesticated. You're right, but ultimately, if you surround yourself with waste men, odds are, based on what you just said, Cam.
Fire's coming true, bro.
Based on what you just said, Cam. Odds are, you're gonna almost by default inherit some of those ugly attributes.
I'm by no means disputing that. You lie with dogs, you get fleas. My mum used to say it all the time. You know what I mean? So I completely agree. But I think ultimately, everyone's got a decision to make.
Yeah.
The parent that you become is hinged and or predicated upon the person that you want to be on a day-to-day basis.
Yep.
So in my mind, I think it needs to be questioned if you're a good person, but you're not a good dad, and you're not a good dad because you chose not to be.
Yep.
Or you chose not to give your children that which you know they need.
Right. Listen to this.
Sorry, Kurt.
No, not at all.
Ambrose, he's drawing it out of me like that. I can feel it.
This is what he does. I mean, what I want to do is I now want people to understand I want the audience to understand who they're talking to right now, or who is talking to them right now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I want everyone to take 2-3 minutes to talk about your father history. Yeah. And then we're gonna go in, and I'm telling you, I mean, Kojo, we aim. I don't know how it is with you, bro, but we aim to keep these sessions to about an hour.
But you really
we had that agreement, right? But I don't know about that today, right?
I stay on the conversations a bit wild.
Right. So here we go. Right. So Kojo, if you don't mind starting, just introduce us to your father history.
Yeah. So I'm not a father, but I did have my dad. My dad was in the home, in a marriage with my mum. So he's never been absent or anything like that. I actually have a good relationship with him. You know, he was there financially. He was there to my first school days and everything like that. So I've had him all throughout my life. Do you know what I'm saying? Even till now, I've had him. Do you know what I mean? I can pick up the phone and be like, "Dad, how you doing? What's going on?" So very much so. Unlike himself, his dad was absent. So I think a lot of the things he was learning on the job. And that makes a big difference when you're learning things on the job, because there is no do-overs. So you're just trying to do your best for your children. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I think my dad was amazing in a lot of areas. I think the one area that maybe we can both work on, because I know it's affected me, is the emotional connection. I think as a father who's come from Africa to UK, you're suffering with racism, you're suffering with trying to earn money, trying to make sure your family's safe. You know what I'm saying? You have a lot of issues that are external forces that are making it difficult to do your job, you know what I'm saying? And then sometimes the children, as Africans will say, listen, I put food on the table, I put clothes on your back, you understand? And I got a roof over your head, yeah? I've done my job, you understand? Which they have, in some sense, they have. But unfortunately, we're no longer surviving, we're trying to thrive. And in the areas of thriving, emotional connection is needed. And I think that was absent because he never had a father. So connecting in an emotional sense, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't as great as I needed it to be. So I've realized I've become very independent in my ways because he taught me to be independent, which is, I'm going to end on this term, which was, life is hard. Don't come and die for nobody. You understand? And so I always have that tagline in my head. I can't come and die for these people. Life is hard. You know what I'm saying? You survive. And so that's how I take it on. Yeah, man.
Well, Cam.
The question was, what was my father history?
Yeah, meaning from your dad to you.
Okay. So my pops wasn't about. And this is obviously no shade, you know what I mean, no heat, no judgment on him at all. But yeah, he wasn't around. So I kind of I was just kind of making do. My mum was married for a period, so there was a time where there was a man in the house. But I think for the most part, I was just trying to feed it out. I think where I needed, I was definitely one of those kids that needed a dad. I was a bit out there. I was a bit wayward. I'd go to church, and the church knew I was out there. I went to Park Finders one time. I only went for one day, and they didn't want me to come back. You know what I mean? It was peak. So when I look at it, I think to myself, I don't think I was a bad child, but I think I definitely needed a certain level of direction and input from a man. So then what happened to me is what happened to loads of guys my age at the time, is you live on a council estate and you start moving with people that you shouldn't necessarily move with. And then that defines your manhood. You know what I mean? Wow. That defines your masculinity. That determines how much of a man you are. And it was almost as if the more aggressive or the more rageful that you are, is the more of a man you're perceived as. And so now everyone's out to be a man. So now the question becomes, well, how far are you prepared to go to prove to these people how much of a man you actually are? You know what I mean? And it's only until I've come into adulthood that I've come to realize that that just isn't, it's not necessary. Like the emotional, when we hear parents talk about, I put food on the table, clothes on your back, you were supposed to. Let's be clear. Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for it, but that was your job. You know what I mean? And in some cases, that's kind of easier than the emotional, because making money is very logical and very tangible. If I work, I make money. If I have money, I buy food. Here. Yeah. I can like you, I can dislike you and still feed you. But when it comes to the emotional, I have to take a vested interest in who you are as a person, in understanding how you love, in understanding what you like and how you function as a person in order to cater to that. And not having that on my end meant that I had to almost to some degree try and father myself. You know what I mean? Try and understand where I'm at. And that was a challenge. And when you live with I lived with my mum, obviously, and we struggled. There was a period where we struggled. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I'm a person in my own right, I'm a man in my own right, and as far as she was concerned, no man don't live it. You know what I mean? So where do we go from here? And that for me was a struggle. Had there been a man present, I think a lot of what I experienced or what I found challenging, I may not have.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ambrose.
That's deep. That's deep. I can relate. I can relate very much to both you, Kojo and Cam, man. In that, I my experience was it was kind of non-existent in that my father was there, but he wasn't there. So I grew up watching or observing my mum doing pretty much everything. She was my grandfather. And I'll come to a little bit later on what I came to realize and understand, which gave me a little bit of peace. But I grew up again in a household. My father was present physically, but he was absent. So he never. I've never spoken to my dad as a father. He's never spoken to me as a son. In fact, the only conversation I've ever had with my father were about him. If that makes sense.
Right.
It was about. So my dad had the mentality that he ain't staying here in England. He's only here for a little while and going back home. And he lived that. He lived that literally. So my dad, you'd call him a roadman, in the sense that, and Stonebridge, it was at this time it was dominated by Yardies. You know what I mean? And he was amongst them. I wouldn't really call. I mean, he'd been here a bit longer, but when they came over, when that influx of Yardies came over, he just became part of it. He felt at home, and that was his family. So I mean, we don't have time to go into all the intricacies, but basically, my mum tried to shield me from a lot of what he was involved in.
Right.
And in doing that, she took some drastic action. And I'm going to cut this real short, bro. But basically, she stayed with my dad only because she didn't want me to give an excuse that I was going to spend time with my dad. Does that make sense?
Wow.
Because she knew what he was into.
Damn.
She knew what he was about. So she intentionally stayed married in a relationship that wasn't even functional, but because it kept me close. It kept me in check.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's mad. It's crazy. But again, real short, I've come to the realization only in the last few years that my dad wasn't completely there. This hasn't been proven. This hasn't been assessed. But based on how
completely there is in
not all there. Yeah. So he had trauma. He had trauma when he was young. And I believe that played a significant part in who he was as a man, who he was as a father. But for a long time, I wished to have a brother. So Cam, you know that I ain't got no brothers. I've only got sisters. So I grew up just wishing I had a brother for a long time, because I never had a father figure. But because I grew up in Stonebridge, I wasn't allowed out on the streets. There was no if, buts, or maybe. It was school, home. School, home. And worse than that, she sent me out to Watford. I had to go to school in Watford to keep me away from Stonebridge. So I lived in Stonebridge, but I didn't mix in Stonebridge. I never mixed with anyone in Stonebridge. And I understand and I appreciate why she done what she did.
Right.
That sometimes I realize now that mothers, they do what's necessary sometimes.
Yeah.
Which don't make sense. But they do what's necessary. So again, I can definitely relate to a lot of your experiences, but again, just with a slight difference.
Right.
Can I just ask Ambrose, because I think it's really interesting, right? Because Cameron was saying something that he felt like he needed to have a father figure. I think it's quite interesting because, Ambrose, even though your mum sent you to Watford, why were you not predisposed to still hang out in Stonebridge? Why didn't you rebel? Because I think this is also part of this is the nurture versus the nature conversation. Go for it.
Well, and the bottom line is there wasn't an opportunity. You can call it being in prison, but I didn't see or believe that the opportunity was there to rebel, because that was all I knew. You know, I saw my mum as being the man and the woman that you know, I saw that she was trying hard. So for me to add to that stress, for it to not even an option, it wasn't even an option, man, because I knew it was hard. And just to add to that, the Watford school was a private school, so it was a fee-paying school. And again, it weren't cheap, bro. It weren't cheap. So I know the struggles she had, and again, she done it single-handedly. So I for me, I was like, do you know what? I had to just do it. But obviously, I got to an age, and you could argue that I rebelled, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it in my kind of adolescence ages. Do you know what I mean? I didn't do it in my early teenage years.
You know what? I'm going to say this, and many will probably disagree, and that's okay. This whole idea of rebellion.
I hear you. Yeah.
Was I rebellious? I don't think I necessarily was. Like when you're when you're, like your parents buy you a pair of shoes.
Mm-hmm.
You wear the shoes. They fit. As your foot gets bigger, if you continue to wear the shoes, your feet now begin to warp the shape of the shoes because your foot no longer fits adequately in that shoe.
Yeah.
And sometimes I look at parents, I'm one, and I think to myself, the manner in which I parent, is it adequate for the stage in which my child is at? And if it's not, them acting out may not be rebellion.
Right.
That may be a level of discomfort because what I'm giving them isn't necessary to what they need.
Right.
You see, that is such a un-Caribbean.
Oh, 100%.
It's a bar.
100%. 100%. Because the idea, when you grow up in a church that is predominantly Caribbean and everyone thinks similarly, you have to conform to a certain way of being.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I was expected to give respect to all elders.
Yep.
I'm okay with that.
Yep.
But I was expected to give respect to elders even if they were disrespectful to me. And that, as a person, that didn't sit well with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always considered rude. Right, he's a bit rude, isn't it? Oh, that you is, and it's like, well, it's not. My value system is just different. You know what I mean? And I think when you're able to look at people for who they are and not for who you want or need them to be, you're then able to identify how best to handle that person. And that's in all kind of relationships, but certainly in one where you parent or are being parented, it's incumbent upon everyone to understand the person that they're in a relationship with and to cater to the direct needs of that person.
I hear that 100%. So the reason why I asked Ambrose the question is because he said something which was really interesting. He said he understood his mum was trying hard, and I'm thinking to myself, but how many other sons can see their mum is trying hard and still go against the grain? So their mum tells them, listen, just do this for me, and they still go against the grain, and the behavior is an acting out behavior. And I'm saying, what made Ambrose decide not to act out in that manner? Because we all have our acting out moments, but something within him, his nature, something within him caused him at those moments there not to decide to do something a little bit different. Let's say not in rebellion, just do something different, because we all deal with pain in different ways. But for him, when he went to Watford, he may have done some things, but he didn't. I know you said about there's no opportunity. Certain men don't need opportunity. They make the opportunity happen because the pain is so much. They decide to go somewhere. And I'm saying, what made Ambrose this way? And I think this is more nature than it is the nurturing. And that's why I'm almost trying to put an angle on. But you go for Ambrose. You want to put?
Who's that?
Yeah. So to be honest, if I'm being totally honest, the opportunity wasn't there.
Were you searching for it?
I don't know. Was he not there?
That's what I'm saying. He weren't searching for it though.
I didn't report searching for it.
Why not search?
Because, you know, and it wasn't even to say that I was getting regular beatings. It wasn't even to say it was like that. It wasn't. Like I don't think I was even searching. My greatest problem, my greatest problem, as a young man, as a young person, was females. That was my greatest problem.
Your focus was shifted, right? Your focus was shifted. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. So technically, although I was surrounded by drug dealers, man, do you know what I mean, and drug dealing and whatnot, that just wasn't like it didn't kind of. I was more interested in women. So that's technically,
fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So I for me, I was like, you know. So I remember vividly that, you know what, it and it was an awkward time. I mean, I'm not sure if I should share this, but basically that wasn't my that wasn't my challenge. Right. It wasn't my challenge. Yeah.
All right, I want to ask a question that kind of bounces off what we're talking about now.
Right.
I'm pointing at Cam first, and what baggage did you pick up from an absent father? How did that carry out? What did it look like to your children, your partner, to me? What did it look like to you?
Well, you're an idiot, so it don't matter.
I know.
That's a good question, actually.
It's gonna get deeper, so bro, you better love me now.
Listen, man, the love is real. What did it look like? I think. Sorry, so just so I understand the question. So, what was some of the baggage that I amassed by virtue of not having a dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there was an element of like emotional maturity or stability that I didn't have. So being able to,
before you go on, so what you're bringing into your adulthood is what we're talking about,
right?
Yeah,
right, yeah. So when people are unable to manage their emotions, what they tend to do is act on feeling. So based on how I feel, I'm going to act and behave this way. You see it in children all the time. You know what I mean? They can't get something they want. It doesn't feel good, so they throw tantrums.
Come on.
And I guess the difference between adults and children is that we should be able to function in a manner that is advantageous, even if it doesn't feel good. So when I came into, let's say, fatherhood, I think the first maybe 5 years of my oldest son's life, I just spent apologizing. I was like, sorry, son, daddy shouldn't have spoke to you like that. Sorry, son, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, sorry, son, like you didn't deserve to be smacked. Oh, so, you know what I mean? And when I look at it now, I think there was an element of me that, one, I didn't know, but two, I questioned whether or not I had the emotional maturity to manage my own expectations as a dad and then cater to his expectations as a kid. You know what I mean? And so I found myself apologizing because I knew that I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the best that I could.
Yeah.
But at the time, it just felt like it's like trying to dig a 6-foot hole with a spoon. It's like I felt like I didn't have the tools.
Yeah.
To do it. I had the desire. I wanted to be a good dad. I wanted to be a good dad. I wanted to love him with everything that was in me. But I don't think I had that. And then what then happens is it's extremes. So then I would super overcompensate and I would try and do everything for him.
I know that.
And it's like, well, doing stuff for your kids isn't bad, but if it's at the detriment of their emotional development, then it becomes a hindrance and not a help. You know what I mean? And so over the years, I've had to learn how to separate the things that I don't like from who they are as people. The qualities in them that I look at and I think I don't really like that, but I still have to love you as a person. But that quality I don't like. I've had to learn to make that distinction. I've had to take steps to learn who they are as people. So there's certain things, like for instance, my youngest is quite sensitive. My daughter is very boisterous, like me. So certain jokes that I run on her, I can't run on him because he doesn't like that. And when you're growing up, it's like, oh, what are you crying for? And it's like, no, he just respect who he is as a person and handle him in a way that he would appreciate and not that you think he should appreciate. But that level of that discrepancy, that emotional disparity was something I struggled with for years. I sometimes still do, if I'm going to be totally honest. You know what I mean? And those are issues that I have to myself work through. But I would say in totality, it would definitely be a level of what I took into my adulthood, a level of emotional immaturity or instability.
Mm. Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, that's deep. That's deep. No, I totally agree. For me, I would say it's I took on a level of, I was unable to show, I'd say, intimacy. If that makes sense. Now, when I say intimacy, I mean it on every level. So I learned a bit like you can, that there was strength in apologizing. I also learned that, you know, sometimes, you know, when you attempt to discipline out of love, it can sometimes come across in anger. And I learned that it's discipline is best received when the recipient feels loved.
Right.
So my kids, I've learned more so with my daughters, that even when they test me, and they test me, man. I learned, you know what, just to hug them,
mate.
Yeah.
Ain't that the opposite to what you learn?
Absolutely.
If I don't hug you, I'm gonna throw you out the window.
Right,
One or two.
Come. Before I kill you, yeah.
Squeeze.
And it's crazy. Because the conversations, those interactions are real, because there are times I have to talk to one particular daughter, because she says it, whatever she's feeling, she says it. So literally, whatever she's feeling, she says it. And I've learned that, you know what, how you behave doesn't define you. But how I respond to you determines everything. How I respond to you determines how you move forward, but also how it also. But I'm also learning through that experience as well, because my kids have humbled me, man. Like seriously. Not that I was a brash guy. Like I was always kind of soft. I was always a gentle guy. Can you know, man? I was just quiet from morning.
I don't
That
remember.
was me,
But,
innit?
all right, cool.
Since you said that.
I joke.
But listen. They have humbled me, man. I've learned that, you know what, and they have taught me. They have taught me that, you know what, Dad. Even though you know you're generally always right, even when you are wrong, you say sorry. You say sorry, and I struggled with this, by the way, for a long time, because I was like, I'm not apologizing. What am I apologizing for? They were in the wrong, and it's my duty to correct them. But it's how you do it.
Yeah,
it's how you do it. But I was never taught that. I was never shown that. So for me, I had to learn quick. I had to learn sharpish, because the reality is, my kids could hate me right now. But I intentionally love on them so much that even when they upset me and they make me mad, I still love them, and they know I love them. Regardless of what they do, I love them. I love them unconditionally. So for me, that's what I kind of took, that lack of like a lack of intimacy, man. Lack of showing affection. Lack of when you don't see affection displayed. Listen, that thing's foreign.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah,
It's foreign. Believe me, it's foreign.
Yeah.
It's really, really difficult. But you do have to pinch yourself because you realize that you can't carry on like this. Because it becomes very, 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 very toxic. Otherwise.
Yeah.
Trust me.
I want to. Can we put our comment, Kojo, of Naomi? We're going to see how deep we can go. As a daughter, I feel that I'm still seeking an apology at nearly 40 years old.
I know that. I know that. Oh,
He'll come back. Don't worry. He'll come back.
I know that. Is it Naomi?
Naomi. Yeah. Oh, Nomi. Sorry, Nomi.
Nomi. Yeah.
Cam. We're coming.
oh, sorry. So we wait for Ambrose.
No, it's cool. Listen, we're coming. I just want to bring a question in, right?
Right.
I don't know if we're going to wait for Ambrose. I bet someone called him. And I know that my dad's going to call me in a minute. I'm trying to call him earlier and he didn't answer, as he does. He's with him. You have to ring him 7 times before he answers. But he'll probably call me during this show. I ain't going to lie. But, Ambrose, you need to come back now. Naomi, let's just talk to Naomi for a second about what she said. And I want to ask you both a question. Yeah?
Right.
But Naomi, man, we're going to deal with this one. Whilst we're Cam, just bear with me because I've got a question for you still.
I'm bearing.
Also, will we talk about masculinity in this? This is Jocelyn, 18. Yes, I lost it. Also, will we talk about masculinity into this discussion of fatherhood and navigating emotional closeness as men without manhood? I'm on that journey. I mean, we might go there. We just kind of touched it slightly with Ambrose there, but you know what it is? It's that we're having this discussion and we're trying to squeeze it in because there's a lot to say.
We've been on there for 48 minutes, and I feel like we haven't even really scratched it.
Brad, we haven't even opened the packaging yet, bruv.
Nah.
You don't know once.
We got to try.
It's difficult to open that packaging still. But I guess obviously while you're waiting for Ambrose, I can add to the question because the original question was what do you see bringing into the future? And I think for me personally, it is, I think I said it earlier on, which is the independence that I find myself in. And I think that quickly leads into pride. So I'm all good by myself, you understand? Yeah, I don't need nobody. You know, that kind of energy where it's like I found that even in my relationships in previous that, brother, I can go 3 or 4 days without talking to you. That's how much independence comes to me. Do you understand? And I just executed it as like it's normal. Like I don't need to call you. I don't need to message you. I just do my own thing, right? And for other person, it's really weird that that's happening. But it's because there's actually a disconnect in me. You know what I mean? Like I forming relationships with people, it's not that easy. And because the trust part of the relationship, I have an issue with. I don't trust people very easily. Do you know what I mean? Because I've been told from young, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you have to handle your stuff, get it together. You know what I'm saying? You're a man, you're this, you're that, you're that. And actually it becomes a part of your rhetoric that when you get older, you're like, bro, I can't rely on anybody else, man. Who else is going to do it for me? You know what I mean? Who else is going to do that? And it made me kind of cold. Do you know what I mean? Even in my adult times when it comes to dealing with being committed to people. Even now I struggle with it. Do you know what I mean? Like if we can bust joke now, yeah, and you're like, Coach is amazing. And then when you try to call me in a week's time, I'm not picking up the phone, blood. You look at Cam. Cam was on my neck, blood. I'm gonna get on him back, don't worry. Do you know what I mean? And then I struggle to maintain like the friendship with the person. Because it's like you almost have to, I don't want to say beg, but the person almost has to kind of chase me for a little while to make that, okay, maybe the person is cool. Maybe the person actually does think I'm cool. Like, but other than that, I just do my own thing. And that is, and I think that scares me in the sense of like, if I have kids, the disconnect that I saw with my dad and me in terms of emotional connection, I get scared sometimes. Is that you, coach? I think Cameron's coming back. Is that you? Do you know what I mean? So I think in my adulthood, I've learned that there's that aspect of me that creates distance between people so I don't get hurt. Because that's what I remember, that pain of the distance between me and my dad. And I'm scared to have that sometimes in relationships with people. Amber's coming back. Cam, you want to hit that in it? Go on, Cam. Hit that, bro.
You know what, bro? To be fair, I thank you for your candor and your transparency. Because that is that level of awareness you don't see in a lot of people, a lot of men in particular.
That's right.
So to be fair, it was just to really say, like, thank you for that, bro. I appreciate it, bro.
You shocked me by going in that deep, because I guess the only part of the journey is for you to learn to let it go.
That's a journey.
Yeah, which is gonna come with blood and sweat.
Yep.
But it's a blessing, and I think this is how God works on us. He gets a chisel, he chips away, and it hurts.
Yeah.
And then you look back and you're like, oh, I needed that. You know what I mean? But glad you're back, bro.
Apologies, man. I thought I'd go into the chat and it kicked me out, but never mind.
We kicked you out, man. We kicked you out because you can't handle it.
It gets out there.
There's a question here, right? And I'm going to ask you a question on that, more direct. Nomi Mohini says, as a daughter, I feel that I am still seeking an apology at nearly 40 years old. Sounds like an absent father, right? So my question to you all is, it's to Cameron and Ambrose, actually. What do you do with an absent father?
Ambrose.
Here.
Hey. Boy.
Here and here.
What do you do? What do you do?
Because she's still seeking an apology, which means probably lack of forgiveness. What else is she going through? What else do you think she's going through from that question?
She actually put an answer. Let me see.
Oh, did she?
She put something. Yeah, she said this. She's been going through. I think there's someone answered the question about something, and they said been going, but during lockdown, I moved home to support him, and it's brought back the hurt from the childhood.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's interesting that she's provided that response, and I think you know it's a bit kind of, you know, typical cliche to say let go. It's easy to say that because the reality is that is very difficult. It's very difficult when someone who you trusted, you had confidence in, has failed you to some degree. It's hard to let go of that. But the reality is, you have to take that leap of courage, because you don't know. Just like I didn't know. I didn't know for years that my father was incapable of loving me. And it's weird because Kojo, you related to this. That the fact that was the only thing that was missing in your relationship. The fact that the emotional connection. And as fathers, a lot of us struggle with connecting on an emotional level. But we have to learn from those that are around us. So for me, I learned from my wife what kind of love looks like. Is that because you know she's a doctor in that field? No. It's because of that of that relationship, that union. I've learned about my flaws, and I'm realizing that as men, we almost try and avoid the inevitable. We're avoiding the fact that we hold the key to breaking down a lot of these issues that seem to just keep going around and around and around. Like, they call them generational curses, in it. And at some point, you need to break it. But to break it, you have to accept that, yes, I didn't deserve this. But what can I do?
So tell me, what did you do? Or what have you done or doing? What have you? Yeah, go on.
I had to forgive.
So I understand, right?
I had to forgive.
Let's be clear. As far as I'm guessing about you, because you and I've spoken, I'm just guessing live on the show. Your dad is still alive.
Yeah.
You still see him here and there?
I see him. He's not well at the moment. In fact, it's his birthday today.
Happy birthday, Daddy.
Happy birthday, Dad.
It's his birthday today. But he's in hospital as we speak.
Okay.
So literally just before I joined this call or this session, there was a group, a WhatsApp group video call from the hospital where we were wishing him happy birthday. So he's very not well. He's very not well.
This is very deep right now. This is very deep right now, and I'm asking you this question. I want you to. It's not what you did, it's what you are doing now. It's a different question.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What have you been doing for the last 12 months?
All right. I'm looking at the time. No,
don't worry about the time.
So watch this, right? For years. So there's a 10-year gap between me and Tanya and my younger sister. 10-year gap. My younger sisters, in fact, all of us, we held this kind of and we've experienced things that most people today will write their fathers off for doing. Right. Do you know what I mean? But because he is now unwell, you know, at some point you have to realize that he's only here for a matter of time. He's only here for a matter of time. Do you know what I mean? And you can't keep holding on to something that is almost like a plague. It's like a disease.
Just as he was hitting notes. Cam, you have to take over. You're stepping in, deputy. Cam, deputy. He'll come back. Don't worry. We'll bring him.
I'm gonna come back to Ambrose afterwards, right?
Right.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's why. Sorry.
It was the pizza delivery man. The pizza delivery man called it outside.
Chinese came through.
So literally, we have to accept that.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not a case of whether or not he deserves it.
Okay. Come on.
Yeah. Because we know that already. He don't deserve it. Because when he had the opportunity, he didn't take it. But we now have a duty to release ourselves from bondage. And that is it. Forget about how you feel. What needs to happen? What needs to happen for us to move on? Move on, but move on without this remaining on our shoulders and then affecting the next generation.
Are you doing that?
So watch this. I'm going to hold my hands up. I've forgiven, but what I am still struggling with is going the extra mile.
I hear this. This is the part I'm probably, yeah.
Are you with me?
I'm with you.
I've forgiven, but I'm like, how do you, in my mind, I just wanted a relationship. I wanted to get to know you when you had sound mind. I wanted to get to know you when you were healthy. How do I now How can I be there for you now when you can't communicate with me?
Or even why should I be there for you now? Can sometimes
See,
be the question.
I've dealt with the why.
Right.
I've dealt with the why because I've realized it's not just about me. And I believe strongly that every opportunity, or when an opportunity arises for us to make change, and we don't seize it, by default we hold ourselves, or we keep ourselves again in slavery.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that.
Yep.
I do believe that, but I'm struggling. I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I've forgiven, but I'm now struggling because I don't really know what I can do for you. I don't know what I can do for you. Because you're like, I can't communicate with you. I can't talk to you. So just kind of quick, just to give you some context to this, my dad has had several strokes. It's by the mercy of God why he's still alive. I mean, he's had so many strokes. He's had so many strokes that he really shouldn't be alive, literally. But I believe God is keeping it, and I also believe that it's an opportunity for us to as a family heal.
That's fair.
I believe that. But I also believe that I am, as the only male in my family, I am pinnacle in facilitating that to happen.
Wow. So you're like the chief cornerstone then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because on that
because right now it's so tense. You know, he could die. But the feelings and the hurt,
right,
is real. Not necessarily for me, but I know it's real for the family.
Wow.
Let me move to Cameron on this. I've got two more questions for you, but we'll see how we go. I've got my heart in my mouth still. And I talk to you guys. And I'm still hearing this like it's the first time, but it's heavy stuff. But I think let me not say no more. Cameron, what do you do? What are you doing with an absent father? Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah, because I would say, what do you do? But your dad's still alive.
Right. Okay. So how? Just so I understand the question. So how do I meander and navigate
the trauma, the frustration, seeing him, navigate what you feel when you don't see him,
right?
When you have thoughts. Well, what do you do with him here?
So I think on a very cognitive level, I think I was very angry for a long time. I was very angry. You know what I mean? And I had to own and accept that I was angry. Because there was a period where his name would come up and I would have, my body would respond to him, to his name being, so someone mentions his name and my body responds almost in that kind of fight or flight. Oh, but such and such with your dad. Oh, I'm cool. I ain't got no issues with him. But yet I would have a visceral response to him. I had to accept that was a part of my current fabric at the time.
Yeah.
Who I am as a person, how I'm functioning as a person, and how I'm going to parent ultimately is influenced by the fact that I haven't really owned where I'm at with my pups. So on a very cognitive level, it's about coming to a place where you're like, you know what? This is where I'm at. I don't like him. Or this is where I'm at. I'm hurt. Or this is where I'm at. You know what I mean? Like whatever stage that you're at, you have to own it and accept that, you know what? In order for me to move forward, I have to know where I'm moving forward from. And ultimately what I want to move forward to. I think ultimately that the journey has to be about you. It had to be about me. So it had to be about me being okay, me being emotionally stable, me being in a place where I can function effectively and efficiently as a person, certainly as a dad, and that I wasn't going to be plagued or hindered by past experiences that I hadn't resolved. From a very emotional space, I had to sit down and have a conversation. You know what I mean? And yeah. And there came a point in my life where I was like, I may have to be okay with never hearing "I'm sorry" from him. I've got to be okay with that.
Wait. What do you mean by okay?
So for the issues that I had with him that came about, that were derived from his inability to parent, is not my fault. And what I can't do is internalize that and personalize that and now define myself based on his shortcomings. The fact that you couldn't do it, though it affected me, that's not my issue. And so I have to be very clear and very copacetic about what's mine to resolve and what's mine to leave. You know what I mean? Because I think quite often, especially when it comes to parenting, because it doesn't feel good, it must be something that I've done. Or because it doesn't feel good, I've contributed to this somehow. And it's like, you haven't. You know what I mean? I didn't contribute to his absenteeism. I didn't. You know what I mean? That's something that he has to resolve within himself. Though it affected me adversely, it's not my issue. And so when we had the conversation, and I allowed him to speak, I gave him the floor, and there were certain things that he said that I just wasn't happy with. And I'm like, no. I'm like, but what about such and such? And the answers that I got weren't sufficient. And I was just like, and that made me even more angry.
Yeah.
And I'm obviously at an age now where where I'm like, you can't tell me nonsense now and expect me not to come back with something. Just be honest. But we had the conversation. He told me what was true to him. I had to accept that. But though I didn't necessarily like it, or I thought there was more, I had to make it my mission to be okay with me. I had to make it my mission to own where I was and create a support system for myself where I could relearn some of the habits I had learned in coping with not having him there. You know what I mean? So this is why when I hear Kojo speak about his independence, though I completely understand where you're coming from, that was a trait that I had to learn. That level of like self-independence and self-assuredness was a quality that I learned later on in life.
Mad.
You know what I mean? And so I'd never question your experience. I look at it and I think to myself, man, how one thing impacted someone adversely, that's the very thing that I had to acquire. You know what I mean? So he lived the life that he lived. And he gave what he had the capacity to give.
Just going to ask that.
And was it enough? I'm going to say no. Can you get blood from a stone? Nah.
Oh, so what you're saying now? So what you're saying now? This is a question to both of you now. But Cam, finish it off, right?
Right.
Are you saying that was your dad's capacity?
I'm saying even to this day, I don't fully know what his capacity is. What I do know is that his experience would suggest that he didn't have much to give. His experience in life would suggest that he didn't have a tremendous amount to give. And so what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to remain in this space of, did you have enough? Could you have given more? I'm just going to say, you know what? You gave me what you did. And whether it was enough or not, what I've been able to do is to create a solid, stable, and meaningful basis for myself. So whatever your shortfall was, I'm now able to pick up the pieces and create that sense of stability for myself. And I now offer that to my children. Because I speak very openly with them about my experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just like, look, I'm not gonna front or fabricate. This is how I lived. You know what I mean? You guys have me in your life. They, you know, when I'm with them, they tease me and they laugh at me. And my daughter told me that, she goes, Dad, you got like a homeless chic kind of vibe about you.
That violation.
What manner of disrespect is this? You know what I mean? But for me, I'm like, this is what I have to give you. And so I'm giving you this. I'm giving you the space to have a meaningful relationship with me. I'm seeking a meaningful relationship with you guys. And that's something I've had to develop and create for myself. Don't get me wrong, big up to Mummy, because Mummy, you know what I mean? Mummy did what she could, and she gave us what she had. But I'm very aware that I've had to make the decisions that allow me to live the way that I do, to live with this with the emotional stability that I do.
That's a real thing there, you know.
You know what I mean?
That's a real thing there.
Ambrose, what do you think? Was that the best your dad could have done for you?
I don't know. I don't know, but I have accepted that that's what he felt he had to offer. Did I suffer any abuse? No. But I know what that I'm aware of. Has he taught me how to be a better father? Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'll go so far as to say that if it wasn't for that experience, I wouldn't be the man I am today. I wouldn't be the father I am today. I'll go that far. Because it's almost as though I'm a blank canvas in a sense, if that makes sense. I've taken the little the little from the experiences that there are to take away, but I believe wholeheartedly it has made me who I am today. I am now more intentional in everything I do as a father. When I say intentional, I literally talk to my kids about everything. So like you Cam, like you Kojo, listen, I'm like I have open and frank conversations with them. I don't keep anything from them. They have seen what their grandfather has been, but I've made it clear to them that, you know, perhaps that was all he had to give. Because what they've received as grandchildren is no different to what I received. Does that make sense? My dad wasn't different, and was anything different to them as he was to me. He was consistent, and that's when the penny dropped. I realized, you actually don't know how to do this thing. You actually don't know. See, yeah. So
yeah, it's not personal. It's not personal.
Yeah. You know, you can't hold it in your heart. If a man ain't got something to give to you, you can't hold that against him. You just have to accept it.
But that's his responsibility, though.
Fine.
He's responsible to do that. If he fails, do you know what's interesting? I'm gonna go there a bit sooner than I know. I cut you. I'm so sorry, right? I've got one more question, and then but this is the thing. This is you guys have used some keywords for me. Acceptance is one of them. Forgiveness, letting them go is another. Which are two things which are the same. They're cousins.
Yeah,
they walk hand in hand. This person owes me their life every day, and you both have said, look, we've been failed, but you found a way to move on that doesn't have repercussions.
Yeah.
Repercussions.
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong, because you found I consider it the safe. Well, let me take that back. You found the safest way to move on, to survive, to live.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Repercussions. Yeah. I get it. I take that back. It's complicated now, isn't it? But yeah.
So I never spoke about it for a long time. I didn't speak about it. I just buried it. And you guys are probably the same. I didn't speak about it. I never spoke about it. But what I realized is there was strength and healing in talking about it. Because when you talk about it and you don't just internalize it, when you talk about it, you realize that, because at some point you actually, as a young person, you actually begin to question yourself. You begin to question, is it you? Like what? Because I saw good dads. I saw good dads. Like I saw father and son with having good relationships. I'm like, what? Like, is it me?
I saw my pops cool with other people's kids. You know what I mean? That's when I thought, right, like, am I a mad son? Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is there something wrong with me? Yeah, I totally get it. Totally get it.
Yeah. It's what I also understand though. I also understand that as a father, our children, do you know how much they crave our attention? Now, when I say crave it, they'll crave it, and the more you give is the more they want. The more you give is the more they want. Now, after a while, if you're not getting it, you kind of go into that mode of, oh well, I kind of don't expect it now. Yeah. So I just acted as though it weren't a problem, but it actually really was. It genuinely was. But for me, talking about it has given me that release. It's I don't know how to explain it. It's given me that kind of okay, all right, yeah, cool. But I now know that because I'm a father. So being a father has helped me to heal.
Yeah.
Right.
Personally.
But then would you say the manner in which these discussions are being had contributes to that?
Absolutely.
So I think someone mentioned it's not just what is said, but the manner in which things are said, and if the space is safe, and you know what I mean.
That's it.
Yeah.
100.
So would you say that the environment in which you're having these discussions promotes a level of openness that it wouldn't had it been a bit more
Yeah. So I, to be honest, my mum never trash talked my dad.
Right.
Never, ever. She never trash talked. She never trash talked him, even though I saw it with my own eyes. I saw it with my own eyes. But she never trash talked him. Never.
Right.
Ever. But again, my mum, I'll say she had a game plan.
Long game.
She had a game plan. And even when she divorced, she never trash talked him. Never. And what my mum did, I want to share this because it's the truth. My dad came round one day, and my mum borrowed money from him. And I actually felt offended that he asked for the money back. I'm not going to say the amount because the amount is actually a joke. I actually felt offended that he asked back for the money. And I actually lost respect for him as a man now of the house, because they were divorced now. As the man of the house, it was embarrassing. It was actually embarrassing. So my mom gave me the money to give back to him. And as I looked in his face and gave him the money back, it was just I felt pity for him. I actually felt pity for him. And I lost respect for him, but this was before I realized that he wasn't all there. He wasn't able to, he was asking for money back for looking after his own kids. It's crazy. It's crazy. But it was just weird because you realize that, do you know what? You have to forgive.
Oh my gosh.
Seriously, you have to forgive, man. You have to forgive and accept that what he gave you was all he was able to. He couldn't give you more because he never had more. And I hear you, Cam. You want to say something, brother. I hear you want to say something.
Twisted his neck.
I hear you want to say something. but for me, and please cut me in it. But I'm saying, look, he clearly was unable to. For whatever reason,
you're talking about your dad. You're just talking about your dad here, right? You're not talking about dad.
That's your experience. So I completely accept
he
that.
was unable to. He was unable to.
My dad, right?
So that's not the thing for me. Listen, that's not how I see it on my end.
That's your experience, bro. I respect your experience 100%. You know what I mean?
But please allow me to cut you for a second. Is he gone? Oh no! Oh, you still there? No, Ambrose. So I'm going to ask Kojo a question, then I'm going to go to Ambrose. I'm going to go to Cameron. That's the last question. But it looks like we have to go part 4, 5, 6, 7 on this. You know.
All right, listen. Honestly,
serious, man. Serious.
Not even a joke. This therapy.
We'll set a date at the back because my heart rate is up for real. In the light of being a father, whether you're a father or not, it doesn't matter. In the light of being a father, or the prospect of being a father, in the light of being maybe a man as well, for the future, what would be just one of your key pieces of advice, Kojo, in becoming a man or a father? It's good. I'm appreciating your position as well, because you are looking at this prospectively.
I guess to be able to answer that question, I kind of have to share a little background, a little piece to it, because it makes it make sense. So I don't think you can, for some of us anyway, some of us cannot go to our full potential without going backwards. Like you cannot, some of us, I say for some of us, I just believe that God just allows you to have these moments where you have to go back to go forward. It's not everybody, but some of us do. For instance, myself, I'm 29 going on 30, and I'll say this, I think spiritually I sense change. And the change that is happening is that if I don't go back and take the initiative to start the process of having these conversations with my dad in terms of the emotional connection, I cannot be a father to the next generation. And I'm not talking about my kids. Wow. I'm talking about people that come to me. Do you understand? Because I fear being committed to people in case I leave them. Do you understand? Wow. The emotional connection. So I cannot go forward to the full potential until I go backwards. Right. Do you see what I'm saying? Right. So in terms of like what I'm saying for somebody, I'm saying that, and these people know me, so they watch my YouTube all the time, they know, I would tell everybody else what to do, but this is, for me, my own very own thing. If I don't go back, I cannot go forward into the full potential that God has for me, because there's a lack of substance within myself that I'm not dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm missing something. Do you see what I'm saying? Right? And otherwise what will happen is we will do extra work. The extra work is this. You'll say, okay, let's say my dad's alive now, and I go, I don't want to do the work. Then my dad passes, and the Holy Spirit's like, listen, so now I've got to go and do a whole heap of taking you around the circles to try and teach you this thing that actually the human father was there for me to learn from. But it required me to vacate my pride to do so, because it really is pride. I struggle. I'm not going to be honest with you to go back there and initiate a conversation or conversations about the emotional need that I have from him. Like for instance, I did this YouTube, and I remember one time I did coaching. So I did coaching with people one-to-one, and I said to my dad, listen, Dad, do you know what? I was excited. I said to him, Dad, do you know what? I'm getting people to come to me, want to do coaching. And I said to him, I even pass psychology, And he said, and I said to him how much someone paid for the coach, and he said, yeah, you need to do more. I was like, what? I was incensed. Listen, I was raging. But for him, in his head, he's thinking that says, you can do more. Yeah. In my head, I'm hearing, no, brother, can you validate the thing? Yeah, it's not good enough. You know what I'm saying? But for his head, that's how he's seeing it. Do you understand? Because for him, he's thinking about, you can do more. You can always do more. You can always do more. But because obviously we are seeing things from different perspectives, we clashed at that point. So my thing to anybody going forward is that some of you, I don't know if it's everybody, but for a lot of you, in order to go forward to fulfill your full potential, if your dad is available and open to this discourse, your objective is to go back. It's not everybody, because not everyone has that same environment. Not everyone's dad is available. Not everyone's dad is alive. So it's not the same. But for a lot of us, we've got to go back to go forward. And this, by the way, my dad's amazing, by the way. It's just that I understand his shortfalls. And that's I understand where he's come from. So now I've understood where he's come from, I can have more grace. But I have to go back to go forward. So if
Big
anyone's
up, man. Big up, man. For real. Yeah, man.
Ambrose, one thing that sticks out for you that a man needs to do to be a great father, or regarding his father. Anyone?
Right. So for me, it's accept the awesome responsibility of fatherhood. By acknowledging your imperfections. Now, when I say that, I mean, in order to kind of break the curses, the generational curses. Koji, you alluded to this. In order to break these generational curses, you have to be intentional. About understanding your makeup, understanding your DNA, understanding why you are the way you are, why you display the traits you display, why you have why you possess certain attributes. You almost have to accept that this is part of who you are. Embrace it. almost like you said, Kojo, move forward, press forward. Because for me, I am mindful, and I know my what my makeup is. I've got good qualities. I've got bad qualities from both my parents.
Trust me.
As I said, from both my parents. But I can immediately recognize what don't look good and what is ugly. I can immediately recognize that this is only toxic and will only reap negative outcomes. So for me, it's about acknowledging your makeup, your DNA, the things that kind of make you a man, based on what you've learned and your experiences, but be intentional about being a better father.
Word. Come.
So the question is, what can I do to be a better dad?
What advice would you give?
What advice would I give?
Or to anyone who has a father, an absent father,
right?
What advice would you give them? Either one, or to be a better dad. Yeah.
Okay. So to be a better dad, and if your dad wasn't there, I guess this is for both. Appreciate that everyone is an individual. And in everyone being an individual, everyone comes with their own story and their own set of experiences that govern and dictate how they live. So, and I'm talking about adults, I'm talking about kids. So my role isn't to dictate what my children think. My role is to provide them with options, see where they flourish, and facilitate that.
Yes,
you see what I'm saying? And that takes a certain level of humbleness. That takes a certain level of acceptance. That takes a certain level of openness. But if I want to be a good dad, I have to be okay with my life being mine. And so I do with my life what I think is appropriate. Now, don't get me wrong, my children they're still children, so I have a level of jurisdiction. But when it comes to them as people, it's incumbent upon me to really understand who they are and how they function. Because my 12-year-old, he's got a particular way that he functions. And based on what I know of him, his love language is quality time. So every couple of days, every other day, he's got a series that he wants to watch, and we'll sit down and we'll watch the series. Now, I have no direct interest in the series. I wouldn't watch it just of my own volition. But I like it as far as it allows he and I to spend time together. And that's what catering to him looks like. It's meaningful to him, so it's meaningful to me. Do you see what I'm saying? And so in being a good dad, to be fair, I feel like in being a good person, if you've got someone in your life that you love and that you cherish, it's about creating a space, a safe space, and an open space for the two of you to have something that can flourish. You know what I mean? Be that romantic, be that you with a parent, or with your children, with yourself. Everyone wants to feel accepted, and everyone wants to feel okay with who they're with. And as a parent, I just believe it's incumbent upon me to
you continue. Right.
It's incumbent upon me to create that space. You know what I mean? And with people who don't necessarily have their dad's around. Really kind of hone in and determine what it is that you want for yourself, what it is that you need for yourself. Because in some cases, some people are like, you know what? My experience with my dad is what it is. And the extent of our relationship is I'll text him every Sunday. We don't talk. I have no interest in pursuing like a real meaningful relationship with him. But based on where we are in this moment, that is the extent of our relationship. And in some cases, that's what it is. And you know, sometimes we've got to be okay with that. You know what I mean? We have to be okay with where it's at. If there's capacity to have more, and you want and desire more, then make your petition clear. That's not easy, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm trivializing. But if that's what you want and desire, make a petition clear. In some cases, you may get what you want, and in some cases, you may not. But in order to get what you want, I remember I did therapy some years back, and the therapist said, ask for what you want. You have to ask for what you want. And if you don't ask, you can't be upset with the person for giving you the very thing you didn't request. You know what I mean? So, acceptance, and which I think Ambrose Okojo said or alluded to. But yeah, certainly when it comes to your children, just being very aware that they're people. They have their own wants, their own desires, their own likes, dislikes, their own aspirations within the sphere of being 16 or 12 or 15, whatever. But our jobs as men is to facilitate that. You want to be an astronaut? Wicked. You're going to astronaut school. Next week, he wants to be a zoologist. You want to be a zoologist? No problem. We're going to zoology school. And I'm going to support you, and I'm going to, you know what I mean? And what I've come to learn is that gives them confidence. Forget what it is that they're talking about. What you're giving them is the confidence to be without reservation, to be without apology. So I remember there was when my children were younger, they would say, "Oh, I want to do such and such, and I want to do such and such," and they would stand in front of me, and I'd got this on their forehead, and I'd be like, "Okay, that's what you are. You want to be a dancer? Okay, you're a dancer." "Oh, am I? Yeah. Go and do what dancers do." "Oh, I want to be a writer. You want to be a writer? Go and write." Wow. They don't need my permission, but what it does is it validates them and gives them. It gives them the space to say, "Well, Daddy said I can do it, so yeah, I can do it." "Oh, but you're not a dancer." "Well, Daddy said I was, so you know what I mean?" That's how they used to get on. But I'm very much of the mind where whatever it is that you want to do, whatever it is that you need to do to be okay, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to make that happen, and that's my gift to them. So if when I'm not here anymore, walking this earth, they can say, "You know what? Daddy didn't have £1 million, but what he gave us was the ability to live our wildest dreams." You know what I mean?
Yeah, powerful.
I just want to drop 2 pence in, man.
Drop the 2 pence, man. We got 98 pence so far, so drop the 2, man.
If 2 are doing it.
2 will do. 2 will do.
Look at the pound, you know. I just wanted to say something I've been doing for a few months is try and picture this. This is allegorical but literal. It is having a dinner party with all my fears and emotions and having conversations with my struggles and my frustrations, literally. And I'm inviting everyone to try this. It may not work for you, but try to become very conscious and have a conversation with your fears, with your anger, with your loss, and make them your friends. They're not there trying to kill you. They're just unresolved emotions a lot of the time, and put them in their right place. They don't mind being put in their right place, and that's what they're there for. We can do that. And so, you know, I haven't spoken about my family because it's about you guys, but my family is we got extremely complicated issues. Things I can't even talk about. And of course, looking back for a while for me was scary because it meant emotions will come up
right,
that will cause me to be dysfunctional for days. Do you know what I'm saying? And now I'm like, I'm going to have a chat with you because I'm not scared of you anymore. So come, let's sit on the table. I want to find out why I'm scared of you. And that is a process. So I'm encouraging you to not run. Don't mask. Don't be angry. Don't try and lock up emotions and put in a corner. It's still there. And that's a false sense of accomplishment. Because what we put in the corner really is the thing that's really still, you know, is given. It's not in a box really. It's governing. You know what I'm saying? It's a part of the program. So I'm rewriting a program, and I know it takes time. And with that, I have accomplished a number of things in my life. I'm spitting. Imagine.
Don't worry, bro. We never saw that.
You know what I'm saying? It's my mic. I could spit it if I want, innit?
we never saw nothing.
You never saw it? All right, cool. Good thing I ain't got the 1080p version, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just.
You know, being honest about, you know what, I am rubbish at this. I am weak at that. Yes, I hate every man that comes along. I hate every woman. Kojo, you hit the nail on the head when you were like, I know what I am. I'm a proud guy and I know how this gonna play out. And it's like, say it. Don't hide from your emotions and your fears. Say it.
Own it, man.
Own it.
Yeah.
It's all right. And move on with it and rationalize it. And it's like that movie. What was that movie with those emotions?
Oh, the cartoon.
Yeah.
Soul.
Yeah. Nah. It's I know what
I watched it. It blew me away. It blew me away.
Good.
But you rationalize with your emotions. Don't run from them. Embrace them, see what they're about, and have that conversation with them. But that's what I'm going to leave you. You know what? We have to end it here. But you know I'm going to call you back, whether you want to come back or not.
It's the Ritz.
When are we coming back, bro? Listen, this is like therapy, bro. Let's get this.
Free therapy.
Let's get free therapy, bro.
You know what? It looks like this. I mean,
I'm ready when you are.
Yeah, this is it. We're looking at the end of the month on a Thursday. You know, we're looking at that date still. I actually want to thank the audience. I know that there was a lot of meaningful commentary and advice being given. There's a few questions there for you guys, but we ain't got time to answer it. But by all means, follow us on Instagram. Follow me at least. I don't know if you can remove the question on the screen and then they can see.
Yeah.
If you want to link up with Cameron, let us know. You can follow myself, Ambrose, Little Black Book. We can answer your questions. This is Marriage UK. We answer these. We have these conversations all day long. We've got a lot of videos there waiting for you to watch, engage with, support, share, click, subscribe. Same for Little Black Book. Ambrose is on Insta. Ambrose, you shared a lot today. Cameron, you shared a lot today.
They did.
I think you saved lives. I ain't gonna lie, and I mean that 100%. You've saved lives. I think there's a few guys on here who just kind of being touched, and it's not often you see that. Do you know what I mean? So I just want to say thank you for being there like that. So what was you gonna say, bro?
No, love as always, man. Yeah, man. It's you said cold drop, man. It's therapy. It's therapy. No, it's therapy.
I feel better.
We need to have this face to face. We need to.
We need to do. Right. Everything is done. We need to do this face to face. Honestly,
hey, where's the chat to Boris?
Soon come June 2021.
Just for us, we got a little studio. We got a little studio ready for you guys to do something with, man. The movie's called Inside Out.
Inside Out. Okay,
Inside
Out.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, man. Inside Out. So, thank you, man. We're gonna hit you up. Hopefully, we can try to hit this up again at the end of the month. But we're gonna take the same topic from a different angle. Ojo, Cameron, Ambrose, thank you so much.
Appreciate
God bless
you guys,
everyone.
Man.
Thank you, man.
I'm out.
All right, man. Appreciate it, guys.